gonna take a second to work. Or there it goes, and we're live.
Hey everyone, how are you?
We're a couple minutes late, sorry about that, but we made it.
Very busy morning.
Oh yes. Okay, so do you want to kick this off?
Okay, so give me 1 second, guys. Sorry about that. All right.
First, welcome back to another
There we go.
DNC Friday Live Q&A. We're excited about all of your questions. We had tons of questions on Tuesday about branding when we talked a little bit about that, rebranding and the different things you need to do and why you would rebrand. So we wanted to sort of continue that, but focus in on a topic that was brought up during the Tuesday topic tackle,
Right.
which was our concept in how we market with PDA.
Exactly.
So let us know that you can still see us. It looks like there's a connection issue. So if you can see us, let us know in the chat. And we'll just dive right in.
Okie dokie. All right. So first and foremost, we kind of changed the angle of the way this is, and you may not even be able to tell. So if you can tell, let us know. In other words, if you like it better, it just seems like this is a little bit easier and a little more interesting looking.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell you what, let's get started with today's Q&A, going over the top 10 things to do when you're rebranding. And then from there, we can move on to the discussion of PDA and our use of it.
To build our business. And it's not what you think.
Not that kind of PDA.
So the first thing is to decide on your offering. We've seen some people, when they rebrand, they completely pivot, right? And we did that with soaps and candles. So the first thing you want to do is decide what you're going to offer. Is it going to be the same thing, and it's just a minor pivot in how you market that? Or are you completely switching markets from soap to marketing, or from baby clothes to...
Hi, Ellen.
welcome, to something else like jewelry?
Yeah. Okay, I'll go with the second one. So the second one that we wrote was do competition research for initial customer avatar, initial brand ideas, and price points. So I'm going to add a little caveat to that, and it's kind of what we're going to be talking about a little bit in PDA as well. So the very first thing you want to do is actually do what I call model research. And model research is essentially modeling yourself after a brand that you already enjoy or like, So I think we used this example last time we were discussing this, but I'll use it again. Darian really enjoys a company called Lush, skincare, health, etc., right? So if she was going to make our Wild Texas Soaps business again, then what she could do was look at what Lush does, look at who they hire, look at what their sales techniques are, look at what their email marketing's like, look at what their website's like. Now, you don't want to be a direct copy, of course, right? But it's all about inspiration.
Yeah.
It's about seeing, okay, this company I freaking love, and I know that they're big enough to where lots of other people love them, so it's not just some niche thing that I particularly like. And I can see some of the things that they do really well, and I can see some of their shortcomings. And that's kind of the key, is to see what you can improve on in there, and then kind of improve on that. So, for example, one of the best and easiest ways to improve and separate yourself from companies like this is just generally their customer service. The bigger you get, the harder it is to ensure that all customers are taken care of, that everybody, because it's not about you, right? Now it's about people you hire. And depending on your hiring process, your pay, etc., that old saying, if you pay peanuts, you get monkeys. You certainly can get people that just don't care, and they're going to be making you lose money. They're giving bad impressions to your customers, etc. So that's your initial research. Then you want to go into your competition research.
And this one's a lot of fun, because you can learn a whole lot by looking at your competitors that they just can't see in themselves, and that's how you can improve too. Exactly.
Now you can do that actually kind of like two ways. So first way, you can look at who are the competitors around your model research, right? So for example, again, using Lush as an example, maybe a competitor to them might be, and I don't actually know this to be true, but possibly like Bath and Body Works, maybe. Okay. So then you can say like, okay, what can I do that's going to improve that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then but generally speaking, your competition research needs to be about you, right? It needs to be about what you do, and from there you'll be able to dictate pricing, the amount of people you should be hiring. You can give yourself a general idea of how big you can get and in what sort of time frame.
Right. So and that's really important too. It's because it's setting up expectation at that point as well. And so understanding where you can go and understanding that it's going to take some time to get there, because obviously Lush has been around for 20 years. But you can also use that competition research to kind of narrow down. So instead of looking at Lush as your competition, if you're just starting out with soaps and things like that, looking at people who are closer to your size, right? So maybe looking at their social following. Is it very engaged? Okay, that's a great way to collaborate and start to build your company while helping somebody else generate great content for their followers. Look at what the smaller people are doing and what's hitting really well with customers who want that grassroots artisan, smaller batch made kind of product, kind of quality, and what you can do to improve on that in your capabilities as well.
Right.
So,
I'm just trying to get more centered up on the camera so it doesn't look like I'm trying to be a camera hog.
Okay, so the next thing is testing for customer personality to nail down your avatar.
I went the wrong way. Dang it!
You went the wrong way?
Yeah.
Oh.
Hold on.
Oh, I see in the camera.
Yeah, I can see myself in the light. I went, okay, now go this way.
Okay.
All right.
This next bit actually goes into the PDA concept.
Almost fell. Okay, we're good. Okay, so test for customer personality to nail down avatar. Why don't you explain that?
Okay. So it goes really into PDA, and so I kind of want to save that for the big reveal because PDA is a very cool concept that we came up with. So, like a lot of things we've talked about with the DNC personality sales system, if you're using that personality to narrow down who you're talking to, if you understand that it's either a lion, an otter, a beaver, or a golden retriever, and how you're supposed to be talking to them, the kind of images and things that you're supposed to be using, then you kind of know, the direction you need to go with that. You're getting a better understanding at that point of who your customer is and how you can target that with the model research, with the competition research, and the kinds of things that those types of customers really enjoy, really appreciate.
Exactly. So let's go with number 4. Refining your brand message, tagline, and elevator pitch. Sort of the same general idea. By initially doing the personality and thus the PDA effect, you'd be able to distinguish what your elevator pitch should be, what your tagline should be, etc. Part of that is because you're finding your tonality and how to speak to that customer. From there, once you actually go through all the processes and establish the avatar, now you can actually talk about or you can use that avatar as a guide to establishing pain points or hot buttons, or figuring out, okay, generally speaking, here's the objections I'm going to be facing, and here's how I can deflect them or overcome them.
Yeah, and so we've talked about brand message a lot, and if you've known me at Flourish and Thrive or Handmade Titan University or any of those places, you've heard me talk about brand messaging. And understanding your customer's personality type will help you to develop that brand message in the right way. So for example, a golden retriever would really want maybe something that's very tragic and heart-wrenching, and that's what they will follow. But a lion, the brand message is basically just going to be a one-liner about the things you do.
So I would counter that.
Okay, from the lion.
So first and foremost, the people that need the help most with this are also going to be the people that disregard it because of our personality traits. Lions. We're the ones that are like, that's stupid. We have that pull yourself up from your bootstraps mentality of like, just get it done. If this is an issue, just stop doing it. If you want to stop smoking, just stop smoking. It's that simple. What are you doing?
Yeah.
And with that, it's a very hit and miss thing, right? As far as business owners are concerned, you can either be really successful and you say like, I'm a boss, or because your personality is sort of, for lack of better wording, dickish, you're it could also come off off-putting, and you can get fired from a lot of jobs and never actually establish relationships in a proper and foundational way. That being said, What I actually had an issue with
As
was,
a lion.
in general, as a human, was, what were you talking about?
I'm sorry. Brand message.
Golden Retriever.
Yep.
But what was the example you gave?
So something very heart-wrenching for the brand message.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think that heart-wrenching is going to get you some attention, right? But I think the idea behind it, really and truly, you can, if you want to establish a brand that is selling something, of course, it's always about what you're selling, right? But generally speaking, you want to take that depressing moment and then give it an uplifting spin.
Absolutely, yes.
You know what I mean? You don't want to just sit in the depression. Now, the only reason why you would want to do that is if you're trying to gain a lot of shares and anger, emotional trigger responses. That's what like behavioral psychologists talk about when it comes to like why we see so much crap on Facebook and Instagram, right? It's not necessarily that. Okay, we all know that a lot of this stuff is either completely fake, right? Hashtag fake news, or is moderately fake, and like so it's very difficult for us to know. But there are certain stories that they're just being spread to be spread, right? They're completely untrue, yet they're being shared all over the place.
Yeah, they're sensationalized.
Exactly, because it's become an echo chamber, and all it is about emotional responses. It's about like a visceral, like that's the reason why they say sex sells, right? It's about that id, that it's about your primal instincts and what you react to, right? So therefore, you see a guy with abs and he's in the rain, suddenly you're like, oh my god. You see a girl wearing booty shorts, suddenly you're like, oh my god. You know, like there's the sex sales part, but then you have the emotional tragedy aspect of it, and that can be, I mean, literally think of any hot topic, hot button thing, right? Let's just say, and I'm not supporting or against it, I'm not trying to get into politics, but let's just say, you know, we were talking about a woman's right to choose. You're going to see some Facebook posts that are talking about, you know, really heinous things about clinics and things that, you know, but a lot of it, not necessarily everything, I don't know, but a lot of it is completely fabricated, completely untrue, not founded in any way, but everybody knows that you're also not going to double check that. You're not going to say, well, what's your actual source? Because if you say that, which people do in comments, you just get ignored, or you get berated by 1,000 other people and you get death threats and everything else, right? So it's just an echo chamber of hate or misogyny or racism or whatever, but it's about establishing an emotional response in either pro or against, right? You either look at it and you go, what a stupid ass post, right? Or you look at it and go like, I can't believe people would do this. These people are criminals, they're murderers or whatever, and they shall, you know, bah. And then you get that extreme hate or that extreme love or that extreme
emotion. Yeah,
right.
And it is very, very primal, and that's why a lot of like clickbait is designed to trigger some of those emotional responses, which is why we tell people don't use clickbait, use something that's click worthy.
Right.
Yeah, clickbait is just going to take you somewhere that's not going to give you any value. Its only purpose is self-serving when it's clickbait. Click worthy is to create something that is catchy enough to get attention so that you can provide value.
Exactly.
And so by what Hulu's getting at is like that brand message, while it can be emotionally triggering like that, it can be like something that's very tragic. What we want is to spread hope in a brand, right? Nobody's going to continue to follow a brand that keeps pulling them down.
Right.
That upward positivity is incredibly important.
And generally speaking, you want to make sure that what you're producing is helpful, right? You don't want to just do something, because here's the thing. Eventually, things get really messed up, right? Like, as an example, let's say... Man, I lost my train of thought. Dang it.
Well, CK had something. She said, we really don't see what's going on in the world. Facebook is sanitized. Think tyrannies around the world. That's all hidden in most news outlets. Sure, what we have here is political smear, perhaps. Well, and yeah, I mean, we could get into...
Not subscribing, it's just friends, right? Friends right. Posting on news feeds and things like that. Like, So just one of those reasons why initially I never had a Facebook. So I was like, I don't care. I don't want to.
Until you joined DNC, so it's very recent.
And then once DNC marketing became established, I was like, all right, well, dang, I need to get one just because. Yeah. And I try to only focus on our groups, right? And like, of course, like work-related groups, but otherwise it's, whenever it does pop up to the news feed, it's people from my past, from friends and family and stuff. They're sharing and posting, and
I'm sure we've all experienced that. And like, we've been following people for as long as Facebook's been around. If you're like me and you've been on the platform that long, and some of those people you just don't know as well anymore, and they post things you just don't agree with. But anyway, not the point of this one. What we're talking about is the brand message, tagline, elevator pitch. So understanding that personality can help you design what direction you're going to go with that. And the next one is going to be brand your site according to customer personality type. So using those colors, images, copy, length to create a website designed specifically for that personality type. Mm-hmm. Well, the reason this is so important is because, and we've said before, a lot of times people will think they understand their personality type, or they'll think they understand their voice and what they need to say in copy. So they'll wake up one morning feeling very otter, very enthusiastic, and they jump into content and they're like, yes, I can do this, let's knock it out. And their website might start to reflect that, their content might start to reflect that. And then reality sets in business, right? And things start to get hard. So maybe they wake up as a beaver one day and they're very analytically driven. They're like, I have to work today, I'm just gonna get it done. Well, your copy is gonna reflect that tonality. What you decide to write your content over is going to reflect that change in perspective.
Yeah.
Same thing as you grow and you become the lion, the CEO, and you've got a team. Now you're very no nonsense, all business, most efficient thing, everything's going to reflect that. You feel really down because something happened in your life and you really just want to get in touch and connect with people. Now you're golden retriever and your stuff's going to reflect that. So by understanding who you're selling to, you can kind of put that personality hat on regardless of what's going on in your life and design things specifically for those customers. Because the consequence of not doing that is that you're switching it up all the time and you don't realize it, which means you're confusing your customers and you're attracting the wrong customers some days, the right customer other days. It's very hit and miss, and that's going to affect your revenue in the end.
Yeah, and so this is where I actually, so normally I'm not really a woo-woo type of person, right? I'm not one that, because of that line personality, for me, I'm just like, has nothing to do with crystals and chakras and aligning yourself, and has everything to do with you just sucking it up and just getting whatever work needs to be done, or dieting, or working out, or stopping this, or, that's just kind of like my mentality behind it. It's like push, put your nose down, grind. That's just me. But this is where I kind of have this idea of establishing patterns, right? So as you find your personality and things like that, the very first step to my sales process is to have a proper mindset. And what I mean by that is not just engaging like, okay, today's going to be a good day, but is to have almost a religious like checklist of things that you do, right? Like, that's why, like, in sports and things like that, people have lucky underwear and, like, all this other stuff. Like, they may only eat pancakes on game day for breakfast, and it has to be from this specific, brand, and they have to do it at this time, and then they always go for a 1 mile run after that to warm up, and then they always do this, and they always do that.
Rituals.
And it's establishing that ritual so that way you are able to perform consistently when you're there. Mm-hmm. So, like, same thing with selling, same thing with writing copy, because as a lot of people will sit there and go like, okay, cool, so I can be an otter or whatever. For one day, I can write my homepage, about page, a couple product descriptions, I'm good to go. The problem is, as a content producer, as a business owner, you need to continue to produce content, right? Whether it's about documentation or creation, you still want to produce something to connect with your fans or your followers. So even then, you still got to figure out, who am I, right? For example, you want to, I don't know, there's some people that I know that they used to take like sniffing salts.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's like really...
Like powerlifters and stuff use that, but in this case, I'm talking about salespeople, regular old people.
Right.
But what it did was, what they would do is they would focus, they'd hit their mantra or whatever, and then they would take a hit.
And what sniffing salts meaning, like, if you've passed out, those old things that they used to use to wake you up.
Yeah, it's like
not a drug, right?
Right. Yeah. It's not like anything crazy. It's not Coke. Mm-hmm. But that's the point is the same, right? They would do this routine, this established thing. They sniff this thing that smells really rough, and it gets their brain engaged, and all of a sudden they're like, let's go. Mm-hmm. And then, boom, they're in sales mode from that point on, regardless of, maybe their wife said they want to leave them that morning. Their kid was sick all night throwing up. They're, like, whatever the case is, they have super great news and they can't focus because of, like, oh my God, this happened to me and this is amazing and wonderful. And, because that can also be problematic, right? Mm-hmm. You're riding that high so high that all of a sudden customers are coming in or customers are talking to you or emailing you or whatever, and you're just like, I don't care, everything is awesome, when you actually need to be more focused and driven. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of a tangent.
That's okay. So, and it still relates all back to the personality thing. Yeah, this is a good question.
Go ahead.
So one website for one personality, or different sections of the website for the different personalities. Did I hear that right? Okay, so this is a great question. Obviously, you do not want multiple websites because that's going to create confusion, okay? What you can do instead, though, is understand who your dominant personality type is and craft most of the website toward them.
So, can I pause you for a second?
And then landing pages, and that's it. I was going to talk, I know you're going to go that direction, so I'll just give it to you.
No, okay. So, here's what I mean when I say that, CK. When we first created this, we actually thought about constructing this down to just 2 personality types, right? Because, so lion and beaver are very similar. They're not the same, which is why we went ahead and as a course and as lessons, we decided to go ahead and show you all 4. Mm-hmm. But they are so similar that it's hard to tell the difference when you start thinking of a macro level, right? When you start thinking about people, like how groups of people engage. Or no, I'm sorry, reverse that. Micro level. That's when you see the differences because now you're looking at a people-to-people basis.
Yeah.
Right. Macro, as a groups of people, that's why they're very similar. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're like those Venn diagrams, right? Where they intersect. They're not quite the same, but there is a lot of crossover. Same thing with otter and golden retriever. So when you are establishing your brand, when you're establishing your website, your colors, all that stuff, you want to use things that are representative of the macro, right? It's your website. It's the macro. It's the general welcome.
Yeah.
Right? So you want to, there's no reason to construct 4 different websites or to continue to change each page, because then that's going to be very off-putting and actually completely misalign your brand.
Yeah.
Right? So, exactly. You don't want a lion about page that shows you in black and white, like tough in a suit or in a suit dress or whatever, and like staring into the camera and like, tough and doing one of these moves, And then you don't want the home page to be you, jumping and like, oh my God. And then you don't, and then your product pages are, like always an emotional roller coaster, it becomes disjointed. So you're going to see some things that are similar and some things that are different, and then people are actually going to not be able to connect with your brand as a whole.
Right. So a good way to actually, as you're testing out your market, crafting the website copy, crafting the website images and everything toward either the lion or the golden retriever, because those are the 2 polarized sides, right? And then refining down in your copy as you get to know who your dominant customer personality type is, if it's just the one. Now, a way you can test the market, because PDA is going to be part of that. We've talked about the 5-week test a little bit, mm-hmm. and how you're going to test out your market on social media and bring them back to your website. A great way to keep your website attuned to different personality types is to create landing pages for those specific personality types. Now, these landing pages are not like in the navigation. They are hidden away until you share that link. Mm-hmm. So say you're offering something on social media, like a discount, a freebie, checklist, whatever it might be, a consultation call. If you're targeting a certain personality type, that social media, that post on social media is going to reflect that, the images and everything. And then that link is going to direct to a landing page hidden on your website specifically for that link to attract those customers serving that personality type.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Drop a comment if that's confusing, because it's a very simple concept and it's a very easy way to test without changing the overall everything of your site until you're very clear.
Yeah, like I wouldn't, Okay, so for almost everybody here, you're not brand spanking new. So I wouldn't say like just change everything tomorrow and hope that you pick the right one, right?
Yeah.
Like what you want to do is pretend like just keep everything as is and then slowly like say, okay, let me go back to step 1 real quick and let me just see. So you're going to create posts or content that are, again, testing to make sure. And then once you give yourself a couple weeks, the 5-week test, or you give yourself a couple months to establish that and make sure that you are hitting these benchmarks consistently, then you can say, okay, now I know, because again, it's going to cost you time, money, energy, thought. There's going to be some people that are going to unsubscribe because
they're not used to hearing
they're not
from
used
you so
to this,
often.
There's going to be some people that are going to gain. Like you're shifting your market. You are rebranding effectively. You're just, not doing it in like a very big way to where you're changing logos and all that stuff.
You're just becoming more consistent, which we haven't really hit on, and that's actually a great point.
Hold on. So the reason why I'm saying it this way is because it can also be, the reason why you don't want to do it so quickly and you want to make sure that you're figuring it out is because it can also be detrimental if you just change things up willy-nilly.
Yeah.
Think about growing with a person, right? A partner. If Darian, for example, if she just changed everything, tomorrow morning I woke up, she had a shaved head, gauges in her ears, and like also, just whatever. Like it would be so drastic that it would be uncomfortable. Yet, if she stayed the same person that I fell in love with, then it really wouldn't matter too much. Thus the idea of like, if your copy and all that stayed the same, but the face of your company was rebranded, it doesn't really matter too much. But if your face stays the same and the copy gets messed up, in other words, Darian still looks the same, but tomorrow she's a completely different person, like emotionally, personality, like that's when all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, what's going on? Oh, I can't live like this. Oh, that's when problems start to happen, and then you start to disengage, and then that's when, eventually you split up or whatever.
Yeah.
Right? So that's why I'm saying don't just start changing shit up willy-nilly. You don't want to do that at all. To answer your other question, I work with people who feel unwell. I think that kind of vulnerability will put them generally under Golden Retriever because they want to feel better, right? Normally I'd say yes. Again, test, right?
Yeah.
Again, normally, probably, because I would imagine the vast majority of people aren't necessarily, lions. Especially when they're well, that's just generally true. It's a smaller percent. Then when you're unwell, a lot of the times you want to be kind of baby. You want to be...
You want a community, which is very Golden Retriever.
Right. Like, as an example, I know this isn't quite the same level of unwell maybe that what you work with, but let's say Darian and I both have the flu. I'm the kind of person that's just like, flu be damned, I need to work, I'm still going to go to the gym, I'm still going to run, I'm still, like, even though I feel like crap. Whereas Darian, like, she gets the tiniest cough.
Oh,
and she is on the she's just like, and she's just on the couch, like, oh my God, I think I'm dying. And then I have to baby her. I'm like, honey, do you want this and that? She's like, oh,
has to baby
I suppose.
I wish y'all could see what really goes on here.
Well, I baby her for about 20 minutes, and then I'm like, oh, suck it up, get up.
But generally, yes, people in a vulnerable state do have a more Golden Retriever tendency. They want that connection. They want the guide, the person that's going to tell them what to do and what's going to happen. It's going to be okay. So that is generally true. Now, let's move on because it's already been a little while. Welcome.
Berger and Vivian. Yep. Hello. Anyways, so yeah, let's
outline your
continue
customer journey funnel is number 6.
I think I talked a lot. You finish that one.
Okay. You tired?
Yes.
So understanding what a funnel is, and sometimes I consider this an advanced stage, but I also feel like it is a shame that this is not addressed in more beginner forums, because without an actual customer journey funnel, you're leaving so much money on the table. There are so many gaps. It's so disjointed for your customer, and it shows. It's the reason why most people don't start to make a lot of money right away.
Yeah.
But it's also something you really have to take time to understand and wrap your mind around. It is an advanced concept that I just wish a lot of more beginner courses taught.
I'm sorry.
No.
I was just going to say, I know a lot of people always are trying to go like, free, right? And there's certainly some funneling programs that are free-ish or like free to start with like little things here and there. Pay for it.
Yeah.
This is one of those things that you're going to use all the time, or you should use all the time. Anytime, excuse me, you're having a new a new product launch, and you need to redo everything. I mean, what I mean by redo doesn't mean like change. I mean like you should completely take an evening, take an hour or two. And I mean, I guess if you want to do it super quick, you can even copy and paste what you did previously, and then create this new funnel, and then make sure that this all works.
Yeah.
Make sure that every single, because what all it really is like a checklist, right? Once it's actually built out, it's just a way for you to follow the customer's journey and path. So that's what I've done. I think I've bought two. One,
What?
funnel programs.
There you go.
The first one was Funnelytics, and that one I got at like a really low cost because they were barely starting up. They are going to be, I think, going public soon, and they are going to be very expensive. So that one, great program, but that couldn't change. The one we have right now is Geru, Geru. That one I really enjoy a lot as well. Plus, they have some like pre-made funnels that you can kind of work from and figure things out. And that I think was like $60 or something like that for like a lifetime membership. So not that bad. And if you have Apple, I'm sure there are some iOS apps that you probably buy for $13 or $8 or whatever, and then you have something that you can work from on that in that regard. As a matter of fact, maybe we'll put that up next week in the email. We'll look for one specifically and try it out. But the idea behind it is that this is just one of those things you should have, and don't try to pull yourself, in and say like I don't want to spend the money, because this is just one of those things that if you spend the money now, it's going to make you,
Dividends.
yeah, I mean, so much more in the long run, because it's just an organizational tool that allows you to make sure that every email gets done, every video gets done, that everything is logic branched out to where because when I do funnels, I don't do some just like basic funnels, your basic hashtag, like I do everything. So like logic branching. If they say yes, they go here. If they say no, they go here. What about here? If they say yes, they go here. If they say no, they go here. This is the emails are going to get in between. Like my funnels look, for those of you that are members, if you go to the Giant Workbook, you'll see a couple funnels that I've created. And some of them I didn't create. Some of them are pre-established funnels, which you'll be able to tell, because the pre-established funnels are like here to here to here to here to here, done. And then mine are like here, 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 here. And so it can look kind of confusing, but it's like, for me, mentally, I need that. So I know this is the business as a whole. Like, I could literally take this and go from DNC marketing and then move it to James marketing, or move it to Janet's marketing, or whatever, And it can work.
It works everywhere.
It works everywhere. So it's just a matter then about the rest of it, the branding and stuff.
Let's take a step back and say what a funnel is, actually, just in case this is something that excuse me, you're not familiar with. And basically what Julio said is it's logic branching out your customer's journey. Yeah.
Check that out.
So from the moment they get to know you, from the moment they see you for the very first time, to the first purchase, and then beyond to subsequent purchases, what's every step they're going to take along the way, right? So say from a Facebook post or a Facebook ad where you dropped a link to get them on your email list, and they click that link, they sign up, they get a series of emails. Every single email is directing them either to your about page, to some content, to a product page. Okay, they added a product to cart. Now they need to get an abandoned cart sequence, and you need to understand the objections that they have for that. Maybe one of those is going to be a consultation call. Okay, they say yes to the consultation call. Now you're on the phone, you can sell them. They say no to the consultation call. What's the next step? They say no to buying that product. What's the next step? Are you going to downsell? If they say yes, do you then have an upsell? Is that a whole nother email sequence? Like, I can go on and on depending on how many offers you have and the different tiers that they fall in, and tell you what your funnel should look like. Now that might sound overwhelming, and so I don't want to bump anybody out because Julio's funnels are quite complicated. And as a marketing business, we do need it to be on the more complicated side because we have many different offers. For a product or an e-commerce business, it doesn't need to necessarily be that complicated. It can be more or less a straight line. It's never completely a straight line. But you want to map out just on a piece of paper with a pen or in one of these funnel charting programs like CK mentioned Market Plan is what she uses.
Yeah, I was just checking that out right now actually. It looks really good.
Yeah.
Like that would totally do that. That's there's a free plan and then a $10 per month plan.
It looks like a Trello board.
Dang, CK, you should have an affiliate link, bruh.
But basically, write it out, draw it out, so that you can see what your customers experience. And what we have found when we work with people to do this is there are a lot of gaps that they just don't think about, where your customers are dropping off. And it can give you an idea if you check out your Google Analytics and keep that up to date, where people are dropping off, and then you can look at your funnel plan and be like, oh, okay, I see. They sit on the home page and then they fall away, and that's a problem with my message. Or they go all the way to the product page or the collection pages, and then they fall away. Let's find out where the disconnect is. Or I'm not converting in emails. Let's see what's going on there. And it can help you diagnose the different problems and create something that is going to convert.
Now, the best way to do that, of course, is to establish a pixel.
Yes.
You know, I mean, that's how you're really going to get that information. So
That's
make sure
advanced.
that you're... Well, no, it's make sure you have a pixel on everything. That's essentially it. I mean, Facebook, whether you go to Facebook or Google.
Hi, Bencha.
Hello. You know, like whether it's Facebook or Google, you know, you can easily figure out what you want to do.
Yeah. So then the next thing, and we've been on for already half an hour. I don't know if we want to continue this or go.
Let me see. Just talk for a second.
Okay. So I'm going to run through 7, 8, and 9, and 10. Is that all right?
Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to pick the best one and then go into it. But
Okay.
that's fine. We don't have to give them good information. We can just, you know,
Well,
just
no.
run through it. No. It's good. It's good. It's good.
If you have questions about these, that's the point of the Q&A. So we make sure we have stuff planned out just in case y'all want to listen. But if you have questions, drop them in.
Yeah.
So 7's create the copy based on that personality type. We've covered a lot of that. Number 8's plan the content that goes into that. And that I'd like to save for a whole nother live because content, there's so many fun things you can do with content. Number 9 is to disseminate that content on social media and in emails to drive traffic, pretty self-explanatory. And then number 10 is to begin outreach, collaboration, and affiliate work. That is an advanced level. To me, that does require you to have all of your ducks in a row before you can start doing that kind of thing, unless it's a blog post about the kind of camera equipment you use and you're directing to the Amazon carts or something like that.
Right. Okay. Excuse me. Now we'll get into the aspect of PDA. Okay? So, P stands for personality, D, demographics, A, avatar. We lost the stream, so
Let us
maybe...
know if you can still see us. It
Yeah.
keeps going in and out, but it's fine.
Okay. Excuse me. So...
It's that one.
A second. Oh, actually, before we get into that, let me answer this question. Candace asked, when you are at an in-person show, how do you figure out the psychographics of attendees?
And what
Excuse
questions
me.
do you ask or cues do you look for?
Yep. So, okay. Couple different things. First and foremost, everybody, regardless of who it is, you want to greet with a positive attitude, right? You want to say, hey, how are you? Da, da, da. You know, you don't want to be a bum, or not a bum, I'm sorry. You don't want to be a bummer, right? You don't want to be like, hey, what's up? Or like barely look at them and like nod your head or like keep looking at your phone. Like that's where most people go wrong. They just sit down, look at their phone, put out a display, and then they're like, whatever sells, sells. And if somebody's interested, they'll, you know, like that's not the point of why you're there. So basically, you want to greet them, right? Stand up, greet everybody. Hey, how are you? Da da da. But then you'll be able to find out pretty quick, right? Using body language cues, using vocal cues, things like that. So like, and I know this may be a little controversial, generally speaking, but going from basically you want to have a little bit of judgment. And what I mean by that is, how are they dressed? What, you know, like what's their appearance like? And I'm not saying if they are dressed in shorts and sandals, that you should ignore them if you have a $1,000 earring piece or whatever. I'm not suggesting that at all, but instead, hey Bill, welcome, congrats on the Emmy. But yeah, so I'm not suggesting that at all. What I am suggesting though is that a lot of the times you'll be able to figure out, generally speaking, their overall personality traits when you see how they're dressed, how they act, how they engage with you, even just how they greet you, right? If you say, hey, what's up, how are you? And they go, hey, how are you? Like, oh, okay, they like this kind of energy. Mm-hmm. If you say, hey, what's up, how are you? And they're like, sup, dude? You're like, okay,
that's an immediate cue.
Let's bring it down, bring down that energy a little bit, and then be like, hey, man, what's up? Like, now it's a mirroring effect, right? You want to mirror off of them. And then from there, it's just about figuring out, as they talk to you, what are they interested in, and then trying to engage with them in that way, right? It's not just about your products, it's about how you can make them feel comfortable that you're one of them and that you're selling to them. Yeah. I can't tell you the amount of times, excuse me, I'd be selling to somebody and I have to sell with a deeper Southern accent, mm-hmm. because they're like cowboys coming in, right? So I have a little bit more. I do a lot more yes sirs and yes ma'ams, and and then from there, the very next customer, or I might even be working with 2 customers at the same time when I was a sales rep, I'd go to that customer and dude would be like a cholo, and he'd be like, what's up, Holmes? And then I have to be like, what's up, dog? And it's literally, it's just boom, boom. And then just keeping, it's very interesting and fun, which is why I always enjoy sales, because everything is new. Right. Everybody's new, right? And
it's also, pay attention to their cues, right? Julio is very observant of different kinds of personalities. He's very observant of all the little details that are happening. It's pretty amazing to watch when he can assess an entire room full of people, and he can point out this is the situation going on with different people, but their arms are crossed, right? Pay attention to things like that. If they seem more, like Julio said, subdued, if they seem a little bit shy, approach them with a little bit more gentle of an attitude. Mm-hmm. If they watch how they're interacting with the people around them, with their family.
Now, real quick, just going off that, also be prepared to pivot, right? Because Darren was mentioning the arms crossed thing. Right, it's more of it's body language is sort of it's a psychological phenomenon that has some truth in what you do, right? But it is not the end all be all. So, for example, some people say, okay, if someone has their arms crossed, that means, and if you know anything about psychology, there is never a that means, mm-hmm. right? Because it's almost never an this equals this. It's this could equal this, and then you have to kind of figure things out, right? Mm-hmm. So if they have their arms crossed, that might be a physical cue that something you said didn't resonate with them. Mm-hmm. So what you would want to do is then talk to them and say obviously you're not going to say, hey, you crossed your arms, but you might be like, when I explained that, did that make sense to you? Mm-hmm. And then they're like, yeah, that made sense. Because sometimes people are just more comfortable that way. Whether you want to think about, oh, well, maybe they did it because of sales, or maybe they did it because, in early childhood, they thought about, hugging themselves comforted them, or whatever, or maybe they're freaking cold. There's so many different reasons why someone might cross their arms. It's not saying you should disregard it, but it's saying that take it, but be able to be more than happy to throw it away. Yeah. Pivot if necessary. If you thought this was what was the course was going to go, and they react differently than you intended, either talk to them or be ready to move on to a different topic point and overcome their objections that way.
Right. And this just takes practice. It takes a lot of practice and interacting with different kinds of people to really understand. And Julio we've done sales training in the past. You've done sales training in the past. So if that's something you're interested in, if you go to a lot of shows, get in touch, slide into our DMs, let us know, and we can hook you up with that. So let us know, Candace, if that answers your question. If you have any more questions, that's a really good one and really another topic for, we could go on and on about it. Right. But go ahead and finish up with PDA. Okay. And all those different things we use for our business.
Okay. So, CK, I will tell you what, I'll DM you this portion of your question because I want to go into PDA, and I don't want to spend too much time because we have about 10 minutes left, and PDA itself is going to take up those 10 minutes, and if anything, it's going to be really kind of a rush job. So as I was mentioning before, P is for your customer's personality type, D is for demographics, A is for avatar. You want to go in order, basically, right? P allows you to figure out your tonality and how you can approach them, how long your copy should be, how long your email series should be, whether you should have like more of a soft sale or a hard sale approach, things, basically things of that nature. D is a demographics. That's where you're going to really be able to utilize your ad spend and things like that a lot better because you're going to be able to resonate with a core audience. So here's an example. Let's say I sell handmade purses, okay? P allows me to, or personality, allows me to figure out, like, let's just say I'm a lion or my people are lions. Now I have this thing like, hey, it's 20% off. This is the lowest cost it's going to be. If you don't buy this now, you're going to regret it, blah, 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 blah. Okay, great. D, the demographics, allows me to know who I'm selling to, right? So now I say that same pitch. If you don't buy it now, you're going to regret it. So how many purses can I sign you up for, sir? It's like, oh, if I'm selling to the wrong demographics, my sales are going to basically be next to none, right? Now, the A is the avatar. Excuse me. That's what you're going to kind of, again, because avatars are an online phenomenon, right? It's because you don't have anyone physical to sell to. In the real world, some companies I have seen, like Silicon Valley type of companies, have started trying to play with it. But I think that's largely because many of them just aren't sales. Like they see the online sales and they try to make it physical as opposed to making physical sales work online. That's my personal opinion, not necessarily what everybody believes. Anyways, so going back to avatar. The idea of an avatar was that it gives you the ability to have a person or persons in mind to sell to, so you can figure out the selling process, right? So you can think about, okay, what kind of emails, how should I say, what should I say to them? Excuse me. If I go live, who's this person I'm talking to? It's the utilization. Mm-hmm. The avatar is the combined utilization of the personality and the demographic. Does that make sense? It is not about does this woman have a boyfriend? What's her name? Does she do yoga? Does she drive a minivan or a sedan? Has she ever been cheated on? Does she like chocolate? It's not. It has nothing to do with that. See, if it did, right? Because there's a lot of coaches out there who have you fill out pages and pages and pages of forms. If that worked, think about it. Because a lot of people go like, oh yeah, that makes total sense. The more I know about them, right? Again, you're perverting the idea of the avatar. If that worked, and you had to fit customers into these narrow fields, then you wouldn't have enough people. You'd be too niched. If it didn't work, and you have customers that love you and they don't fit these narrow fields, then what the hell was the point in creating it in the first place? Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? Like, you want a generality. It's you have to think on a macro level and not on a micro level.
And that's for demographics.
When it comes to that, yeah.
Yeah. But for psychographics, we do get a lot more micro in how we think about them. But we also, like Julio said, you have to understand that you're not selling to one person.
Right.
Because then you're not making money. You're selling to a multitude of people. So you need to understand the basics, the foundational elements of these principles in order to know how to pivot, where to pivot, how to change things to appeal to the widest possible revenue stream you could potentially earn.
Which is why I established it as PDA. It's personality first, then demographics, then avatar, not the other way around.
Yeah, and people do get that backwards a lot. So I really love the PDA thing, and I really want y'all to chime in and let us know how you feel about this, if this is an aha moment for you, because it just makes so much sense, and we've used it in so many different forums that it's clear how many people get frustrated because they are focusing on the wrong aspect of this and completely ignoring the rest.
Exactly. So that, hey Gio, hey Candace. Oh, by the way, Candace, we answered your question. Feel free to, I guess whenever this is done, kind of
Watch
either watch the whole thing or scroll to around this mark-ish, around the 40-ish minute mark. Okay, so that gives you kind of the general idea of PDA. That's like step 1. Step 2 is going to be like the 5-week test, and then step 3 is actual selling, and that's going to be part of the actual like email marketing and things of that nature. So we'll get into more detail. We are in the process of actually creating this as like its own workbook, and we're going to be adding that to those of you that are course members. We're going to be adding that to the book, and we're going to create a secondary course on that, so I make sure that I explain everything really well. And besides that, for those of you that are not course members, we'll talk about it in lives throughout, I don't know, weeks or whatever, so you can piece things together, or eventually you can end up getting the branding book. I'm sure we'll have it available for you as well.
Right. If you really want the in-depth knowledge, if you want the accountability, if you want to be a part of the programs we're going to start putting on within the course, make sure you sign up at dncmarketing.org/join.
Yep.
And then you'll get everything, and you'll get accountability and feedback and the things you need to make your business great.
And CK says, very useful. Mes amis, merci.
We also
Merci beaucoup.
Okay, don't do that.
Okay. All right. So that takes care of that.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate everything you. Well, I was gonna say everything you've done. What you have done? You know what? You have. You watched us. You engaged with us, and I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And I guess from here, we're gonna leave you alone.
All right. Make sure you join us on Tuesdays and Fridays, same time, same place. For those who are sending us replies to emails with topics for every single one of these, we really appreciate it. Keep letting us know in comments, in emails, in our DMs, what you want us to be talking about,
Slide
what information
into
you
our
want.
DMs.
That's right. And we will see you on Tuesday.
All right. I'll see you later. Thank you so much, guys. Appreciate you.
Bye.